Hey everyone, it's John, and John Agroni, in case you forgot my name. And, this week I've had a lot of stuff on my mind. Mainly because, well, it's springtime, it's April, and I've been really excited about all of the summer movies that are going to be coming out. There are lots of them, and every year we get lots of summer blockbusters, but I also love to pay attention to the summer indies that are going to be coming out. But that's not why I want to talk in this format today, because I will be. I'll be talking about all the movies coming out this summer that I'm really excited about. Movies that I've already seen, I can't wait for you guys to see, including my favorite movie of the year, which is 8th Grade. That comes out, I think, in July. But like I said, I want to focus on the big blockbusters, and I've been thinking a lot about what are we going to get. I do the Cinemaholics podcast, so we've been doing our summer movie preview. That episode's coming, and I've been trying to think, what are the movies that I'm most looking forward to? And you might be surprised by the ones that I picked. I'm really looking forward to ones. I don't know if everyone's going to agree. Like, for example, I'm really looking forward to Ocean's 8. I get it. The Ocean's movies, they sort of peaked with the first one. Although I do love the newer movies compared to the original. I like the original too, but the original Ocean's 11, it's one of my deep pleasures in film. So I'm really looking forward to Ocean's 8. It's like a new concept. It's just a remix of what I like about those movies and kind of updated with just a different cast, which I think is going to kind of give it the life that franchise deserves. But mainly I want to talk about Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2 is the movie that I don't think I've ever been asked about a movie more than Incredibles 2 in recent years. Maybe Toy Story 4, and that'll probably happen later. And one of the things I've been thinking about with Incredibles 2, for those of you who don't know, there's this movie called The Incredibles. It came out in 2004. It was one of the first superhero movies that people were like, oh, this is like a good movie. This isn't just, a whatever superhero movie. We'd gotten those. It was the same year we got Spider-Man 2. But it was a movie that I think people looked at it and were like, this is like a superhero movie with like something to say, something like really deep and original. I like the Superman movies and the Batman movies and things like that, but until 2004, they'd really been looked at as like comic book films, comic book adaptations. So for Pixar to come out the gate and to create a superhero flick that did well, it's a great success story. And for that reason, people have been looking forward to Incredibles 2 since, like, walking out of the theater, wondering what happens next. I'm not going to play that video game where you fight the Underminer. And they did anyway. So, Incredibles 2 is coming out this summer. And the reason it's on my mind is because I think people are seriously underestimating this film and how successful I think it's really going to be. Now, I'm making a wild prediction here. I could very much be wrong. And this is a dangerous game. I don't predict things very often. I usually just stick to like what I know. And what I know is usually like my opinions. But when it comes to box office success and the numbers, I'm predicting that The Incredibles 2 is going to be the second highest grossing film of the summer, according to the domestic box office in the U.S. So, not worldwide. Worldwide is very difficult to track because we don't know all of the release dates. We don't know if China is going to pick something up. It's kind of impossible to predict, like, worldwide totals. So if we're just going by domestic here in the U.S., which it's a great metric, it's imperfect, but it's something, then I really see The Incredibles 2 as only falling short, and maybe not even that far behind, the Avengers movie coming out, Avengers Infinity War, which comes out next weekend. And, I tweeted this out. Some people agreed, some disagreed. Some people were saying Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom was going to be the number 2 spot. And some people even said Solo, the new Star Wars film, would outpace Incredibles 2. And I understand where they're coming from. They could very much be right. I just disagree. I look at this and somebody, I should say, somebody said, well, you know what? Avengers Infinity War is not a summer movie. No, it's coming out April 27th. April 27th is not summer. And I agree. I totally get where this person's coming. I get the frustration. I get where they're coming from. But even though it's coming out in the spring, Avengers Infinity War is still a summer movie because it's going to be playing all summer. It's going to be in theaters all summer. We can dice the words 1,000 ways, but you know it's a summer movie. Disney knows it's a summer movie. The only reason Disney's releasing it in April 27th is because they want to give it more space before getting into Solo, a Star Wars story. And you'll notice, if you look at the movies that are coming out this summer, whoa, lots of Disney movies. There are a couple of non-Disney movies that are, like I mentioned, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. Deadpool 2, Mission Impossible Fallout. There's even one other higher profile children's animated film, Hotel Transylvania 3, which I think could actually make the top 10 highest grossing of the summer. And I should say, a lot of what spurred my thinking on this is the Summer Movie Wager. I was listening to that episode of the Filmcast today. I love the Summer Movie Wager. I think those guys, they do a great job of it every year, and I always keep up. And one of the things that sparked this was I was listening, and I respect their opinions a lot, but a lot of them put Incredibles in either number 3 or number 4 or number 5. And I'm like, no. The Incredibles 2 is going to be number 2, much to its name. I honestly expect, and I get the reasoning why a lot of people are assuming that Incredibles 2 is not going to be that much more of a hit compared to the first Incredibles. Even if you adjust for inflation, the first Incredibles in 2004, it didn't make like amazing numbers. It did really well. It was a great movie for Pixar, on par for what they do, on Bob par for what they do, if we're going to be punny about it. But it wasn't a runaway hit. It wasn't like something that just like blew open the box office. It wasn't Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo, one of Pixar's most profitable films ever. I mean, that especially internationally. So, looking at Incredibles 2, I get why people are like, well, it's another superhero movie too. There are lots of superhero movies coming out in the summer. There's Deadpool. There's Avengers. I guess those are the big two. But you get what I'm saying. Oh, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which will undoubtedly be in the top 10 as well. It could be in the top 5 even. That all said, Incredibles 2, what I think people are missing, two key things. First of all, Pixar sequels routinely do better than the original film. The only exception so far has been, I believe, the Cars films. They haven't been better each time. Just if you look at Cars 2. But Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is one of their most successful movies of all time. Finding Dory is Pixar's most box office profitable film ever. Finding Dory destroyed the box office in 2016. And that was in the same summer that it competed against, you guessed it, Captain America: Civil War. Now, I don't think Incredibles is going to do the same thing. I don't think Incredibles 2 is going to outperform Avengers Infinity War. I don't think the math checks out for that. Because Captain America: Civil War, while it did great numbers, Avengers numbers even, it didn't quite measure up to like the first Avengers. The first Avengers, if you recall, is the second highest grossing superhero film of all time. It's only second to Black Panther, which recently surpassed it. I believe that is correct. I may be misquoting, but yeah. And in addition, Incredibles, I don't think has the international family appeal that Finding Dory had. That is a movie that just took the summer by storm because it was one of the few like children's films that came out that summer that people were really excited about. There was no Despicable Me movie that came out that year, I believe. Minions was the year before, or Despicable Me 3 was the year after, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if you look at the summer movies for this year, and we're going to talk about Incredibles now, Incredibles 2 is, it's summer, right? Like, these are the months that kids go to movies. And I worked at a movie theater in college and high school. Pixar movies always were big hits, obviously, but even like kids movies that were like objectively pretty terrible, they always did well as well. I mean, if you look at the schedule, there aren't a lot of kids movies coming out this summer, which is interesting, especially animated. The only other one is Hotel Transylvania 3, which is kind of spaced away from Incredibles 2. And there's another thing that I think people are overlooking. Incredibles 2. People are so excited about this movie. Part of the reason Finding Dory and Toy Story 3 are the two most successful Pixar films is because they had a decade of hype. And this plays into why Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World, not the new one, why that was a huge hit in 2015. That was the highest grossing film in the summer, and that's why a lot of people are like, well, Fallen Kingdom, that's going to make billions and billions. Domestically, it could very well, I'm expecting it to make about, I don't know, maybe like 400 million, 500 if it's lucky, and that's being kind of ambitious. But if I really just see a drop-off coming for Jurassic World. We could even look at the Star Wars films, The Force Awakens, one of the highest, it's like the second or third highest grossing film of all time, because it made like 2.2 billion. It's second, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it. And then what happened next? Well, Rogue One came out. And Rogue One didn't make nearly as much money as The Force Awakens. And then The Last Jedi came out, and that didn't quite make as much either. The hype in these like franchises that have been dormant, like if there was an Incredibles 3 that came out like 2 years from now, I don't think that would be as big of a hit. But people are excited for Incredibles 2. They're ready for Incredibles 2 to, like, I think people just know that they're going to go see it, basically. And I could be eating my words in a couple of months, and who knows, like, anything could happen. But I think the only way that I could see Incredibles 2 not just destroying the box office is if it's bad. And if it's a bad movie, if it doesn't have good word of mouth, if it doesn't have good reviews, then at that point, I could see it performing lesser than the expectations I'm putting on it right now. Could totally happen. But I'm expecting Incredibles 2 to be good. The trailers have shown that it's looking great. It's looking like a great continuation of the first film in a way that stays true to what the spirit of it is. It doesn't look gimmicky. It looks like the message is simple. I think people watch that trailer and they get what they're in for. If you watch the Incredibles 2 trailer, the obvious story here, it's not a big mystery, is being a parent takes superpowers, right? Mr. Incredible has to raise his kids as like a single dad because his wife has a new job, and there's other things going on. There's this other thing about propaganda, and like they want to like bring supers back to the limelight. It's kind of a fun, like, make superheroes cool again kind of story. And you know, they could be saying a lot of meaningful things about superheroes in an age where superhero movies are a dime a dozen, and I'm ready for Pixar to say something really unique and original about superheroes again. And that's why I think Incredibles 2, the math for me checks out. Like, I don't know. It could suck. We don't know. But, I mean, who is actually watching these trailers and thinking Incredibles 2 is not going to be critically acclaimed? And so people are going to hear about it. They're going to want to go see it. The other kids' movies coming out, Show Dogs. Whoa. Yeah, like, Pixar movies are huge draws. Pixar movies, it's a trusted brand. It's a brand that hasn't had a very bad movie in a long time now. It's had great movies very recently. Coco, Cars 3. People liked Cars 3. I myself included. Check these videos. And Inside Out. A lot of people liked Good Dinosaur. Not everybody loved it. Cars 2, yeah, it was really the only one that was like, people were like, what is this? So their brand is very much intact. Now, I don't think Pixar is as strong of a brand as it used to be. It had an incredible run from 2000 from like 2000 to 2010. It just dominated. It had like 8 solid years at one point where it was just hit after hit and better and better. And, you know, I'd say the last decade, it hasn't been quite as strong. You know, there have been hits and misses, but some of their best movies have still come out in that span of time, like Inside Out and Coco. And I fully expect Incredibles 2. It's a film that people are asking for. It's a film that obviously the subject matter, like the source material, the style of it is something that people pay a lot of money to go see. They love superhero films. I think that it's going to draw in a huge audience of people who loved the original, people who love superhero movies, people who want to take their kids to an animated movie that isn't rated too high. Parents who want to take kids to a movie that isn't PG-13, that is good, that has good reviews. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's not that it's not even coming out in like July, where it has less time to really flex its theater muscles box office wise. It's coming out in June. And true, it faces a lot of competition, but its main competition is going to be Deadpool 2. But Deadpool 2 is an R-rated film. And if you look at R-rated films that have come out in summertime, they don't usually do all that well. And lately, some of the like high concept summer films that are not summer films, but these high concept R-rated films like Kingsman. The first one was a big hit. The second one, I like the second one a lot, but it just didn't do the same amount of numbers. I think the R-rated films tend to have kind of diminishing returns. So I don't see Deadpool 2 making quite as much. I think it might do really well. It is fitting a very particular niche that people want. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that people are going to watch it. But I just don't see, I don't see how you can look at Deadpool 2, and which, if you adjust for inflation, didn't make as much as the first Incredibles. You're looking at a Pixar movie coming out in the summer with barely any competition in like its like mainstream appeal. And it's a franchise that people have been waiting over a decade for. The first movie is heralded as a classic, one of the best animated films of all time, one of the best superhero films of all time by many people. Yeah, I get that I'm not using a lot of evidence and science. I'm saying things like many people and making a lot of assumptions. And I get all of that. This is just my perspective, and I'm just expecting a lot of people to be surprised by how well the movie does over the summer. And that's where I'll leave it, I guess. I think Solo: A Star Wars Story, honestly, I don't think that is going to make nearly as much as Last Jedi and Force Awakens and in that zone. I think hopefully it's going to be like right at Rogue One. It does have the advantage of being a summer movie. It could make money like the prequels did. And, it also has the advantage of a recognizable character. People love Han Solo. But, that one it'll really depend on the reviews. I think that if the movie gets good reviews and if people really love the movie, I could see it being number 3. I could see it being number 4, at least, no matter what. I think that people will come out to see a Star Wars movie, basically. But it is hard to predict on that one because we haven't had a summer Star Wars movie since the prequels. And, those were saga movies. Those were movies that were really driven by the mystery of Darth Vader. Whereas recently, these films have been coming out in December. Rogue One did good numbers. It did. If we were going by Rogue One, I'd say that number 3 and number 4 make sense. But honestly, I'm getting a little bit worried. Not too worried. Chewbacca's in it. He's going to bring people to the seats. I'm more concerned, I don't know for sure, where it's going to net out with Jurassic World. I think that, Jurassic World, the first one, has faced plenty of backlash over the last couple of years. People have kind of revolted against its popularity, and in some ways deservedly so. I think it's a very goofy movie. I love the original Jurassic Park. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I consider it a classic, and I think that it's, one of Spielberg's best. And Jurassic World was a movie that I definitely really enjoyed. I think the ending really redeems that entire movie. But, if I'm being honest, there's a lot of Jurassic World I don't remember at this point. There's a lot of it that I thought was fun at the time, to the point where in the trailers, they're just not grabbing me. And part of it is because I don't think the trailers have made this concept all that interesting. The fun of the first Jurassic World was this idea of going to the park. What does the park look like? And now it's, it's like rescuing dinosaurs, which is definitely reeking of the second Jurassic Park movie, The Lost World, and also has world in the title. I just don't quite see it there. I do see a lot of people coming out to see this, though. It is Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park movies, they're big draws. It is something different for people to watch. People love adventure movies. We can't discount that. We especially can't discount how how Jumanji did. A movie that has a totally different setting and, has charismatic actors at the front of it. We have Chris Pratt coming back here. We have Bryce Dallas Howard, and we have Jeff Goldblum. Those are the 3 headliners, and I think that's enough to bring people out. Technically, it wasn't. Jeff Goldblum wasn't enough for Independence Day Resurgence, but we'll see. I'm expecting Fallen Kingdom to not be anywhere near as hyped as the first Jurassic World. It's only been a couple of years, 3 years exactly. And I just don't think it's going to get those same numbers. I just don't see it. And I also don't see people who gave the first one a chance. I think there are a lot of them that aren't going to give this one a chance, or if they are, they're going to kind of wait until like rental and all of that. So I've spoken long enough, and I haven't even said anything about Avengers Infinity War. I think that's a given. I think that movie is going to just rake in so much money, and part of it we know that the tracking for that movie is insane. It has months and months to collect its box office revenue, and that's all I got for that. I think that it's going to be the number one by a margin, and I think Incredibles 2 is going to really impress people with how close it gets. And yeah, part of this is a little ridiculous. I bet, if you're still watching this, you probably aren't thinking this, but I can imagine some people are like, I don't care about box office. I just want to see a good movie. Well, good on you. Go do that. Go support these movies if you like them and you're interested in them. At some point, I'll talk more about indie movies that are coming out of this summer that I'm, really hoping you guys check out. The two big ones, they're 8th Grade and also Searching, which comes out in August. And a movie that's out right now, one of my favorite movies of the year, nobody's watching it, is You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Lynn Ramsey. If that's playing near you and you are of age, it's an R-rated film, hard R, but it is glorious. It's a masterpiece. It's so good, and I'll talk about it more in another day. I talked about it briefly on the Cinemaholics podcast, actually. I kind of did a little rant on there about it. But, okay, I'm out. Thank you for watching, as always, and you don't have to do anything. You can do anything that you want when it comes to this channel. You can subscribe, you can unsubscribe, you can dislike this video, or you can like it. You can leave a comment and argue with me. Have fun doing anything that you decide you want to do.